And it was only a few months ago that I wrapped up coverage of the Silverline EP. I guess if this video is going to be anything, it's fulfillment in some of the promise I left you with on the last track, that if anything new from ANBERLIN debuted, doors open here. We have fulfillment on that, so here we are again with ANBERLIN. Much quicker than anticipated, but I welcome the opportunity, apparently with a new EP on the horizon, Convinced. I don't know if it's the same lineup of tracks in terms of total. I would imagine it probably would be at a 5-track lineup, but we have the first single debut. Again, like I said, not what I anticipated with ANBERLIN appearing this quickly, but I welcome them. Many of you might remember some of my earlier thoughts of Silverline if you humored the opportunity to be reapprised to them with me for some of their newer offerings, which I didn't know would happen. It was news to me that ANBERLIN was back after a brief hiatus. There's been a reunion project of sorts, and this started with 2 Graves, and ever since. I'm reminded on each piece I've consulted with you and just how much I love ANBERLIN, and when I think back on what brought me into the rock music world, especially in my origins with music as a first love in my life, as I've mentioned many times, and in part that communicated into an interest to bring it on as a dominant presence of coverage focus here and sharing in that love with you, I think about the earlier influences of what dove me into the rock scene, and as I've said it before, I was raised on Christian music, so the Christian rock landscape didn't take that long to make an entrance in my life. And I remember when Ready Fuels came across, my radar, I just fell in love with this band. I've been a fan ever since. And I hope you feel the same if you've never entertained them before. They are a very strong rock group, real legacy presence to them, again, in the years that they've been around. They're dominant, at least in, I would say, their regard among Christian fans, but I'm sure I know they've got a wider appeal than that as well to general audiences, especially any rock enthusiasts. They always deliver, in my opinion. And Silverline was quite creative in its reach. There was a real exploration in that album, but real mainstay ANBERLIN influences. It was just so cool to be reapprised to their talents with some new stuff. Even though, again, I've been a devout listener for a number of years, the new tracks fulfilled my interest readily. I would imagine Lacerate, I love the name, it's so forceful, is going to have the same potency. And on theming, it's funny, ANBERLIN has become a central presence here, it seems, in that I've done 6 videos on them thus far, and this being the 7th, of course, but even the theme of this song is a central mainstay presence here, in that it's woven around a toxic relationship, exploration in those dynamics. At least that's the summary statement offered by the frontman Stephen Christian. At behalf of at least what I'm referencing on the Anti-Music website, that's the open declaration. That is a central theme of my playlist in terms of favorability. It is a very realistic concept, and as I've acknowledged before in different respects, I have been through toxic relationships myself in my own life, so it's a particularly resonant subject matter. I'm curious to see how well the song explores it. I will admit I have previewed the lyrics ahead of time for myself. I've read into them, and the disclosure and the exploration is fascinatingly eloquent. But let's pair a track to it together. If you've never humored ANBERLIN before, again, as I've always said of music on this channel and coverage focus, I love the fellowship aspect that they can offer, especially since many of us approach, I'm sure, different respects with familiarity. Many of you, I'd imagine, are longtime ANBERLIN fans. I know there are some of you who have come across the videos in the past, and I welcome, of course, your company, but I hope for some of you, you're approaching ANBERLIN for the first time, right? Maybe you're a rock enthusiast, or you just like good art in the music space, and you're shopping for names that you'll find a favorability with. ANBERLIN, I promise you, I think you'll like. Again, I'm very familiar back to my origins of, and ANBERLIN wasn't the only one, to be fair. There were a couple others as well that I've acknowledged here on the channel and just reference or even coverage focus, but I think of those origin groups that gave me a love for the rock metal scene, and ANBERLIN was one such credit. I hope you find the same favorability with them, and I would definitely encourage you, if you've not ventured down the ANBERLIN road, go look at their past library as well, maybe post this, and let Lacerate be your first welcome step into a long relationship with the band in terms of who you'll favor, I would imagine. Easy repeat listen. I think you're going to be thrilled. Lacerate. I'm going to go ahead and cue up the music video that accompanied the number. We're going to have both play in conjunction to one another. And if you're not familiar with the coverage and the way I format my videos here, lyrics are provided directly in the video feed. So if you want to read along with the exploration of a toxic relationship narrative as put in focus by the band, those will be available to you right in your face. Well, not in a comfortable manner. And they'll track along with the song as we proceed through it together simultaneously for the first time. I, again, was not anticipating. I'm still kind of in a bit of like a state of shock of we're back on ANBERLIN again this quickly? As I said, though, open door. Here we go. Let's humor Lacerate together. I'm really curious. Okay. Pop mood of a good rock match. I like this entrance. It's incredibly smooth. Is that Stephen Christian doing the vocals there? That definitely is. I'm like, it's a lower pitch than what I'm familiar to. No, it's a mixture. Okay, I wonder, I'm like, it's a good mixture. Distinctly separated, but yet it's trademark ANBERLIN. And the chorus structure on music is great. It's such a smooth lead. Beautiful lyric writing, as I said, deeply eloquent and original. This is such a reach for them, but I love it. It's a general expansion. Oh, the overlapping and the specific modulation effects. It just creates this whole new feel. As I said with Silverline, there was such a distinct feel. There were particular tracks that felt like mainstay ANBERLIN, Two Graves for sure, but some of the other pieces definitely felt different. Changes, adventurism. I think Convinced is going to have the same effect. I would imagine. That particular song is a reach for them in a number of respects. I have not come across ANBERLIN, and granted, yes, I'm still perusing myself for some of their older works. I'm very knowledgeable, though, on the hit songs. I still have yet to maybe consult some albums in full, for sure, admittedly. But I have never heard, personally, a duality on vocals. There's, at least from any of the songs I've consulted, there's no collaborative features in terms of guests, and I don't think any of the other band members have taken on that subordinate, equal role. Especially an introductory presence. I'm like, that just doesn't sound like Stephen Christian to me. I don't think it is, because they showed never vocalist here, or I never member of the group, I believe, serving in a vocal capacity. That's just so different in styling. Yes, it has the rougher edge of ANBERLIN. Stephen Christian plays more of, I would say, an advisory echo in presence. Again, that higher inflection, which rounds out the primary vocals quite well and establishes that rougher side. So you know it's ANBERLIN, and yet it's just so different. In consideration of their lineup and what I have humored and what's present on my phone as we speak, LACERATE sits adrift from the other pieces in its own expression. And I like that. Again, as I said, on narrative exploration, this song goes pretty deep. And it's not in any way, maybe with some of the other songs that express different types of storylines and dynamics of toxic relationships, they might come off as using maybe some familiar models or storytelling processes. This does not come across in any way. To me, it's cliche. I love the originality. And they beautifully demonstrate the dynamics that are at present. You keep pushing the piece, the cadaver of truth. I mean, where have you heard that line maybe in conjunction to other songs? Volatile as it can be, fall apart beautiful. That's enough. I just exist to hear the worst. That's what you want. Isn't that just beautiful? My heart can't break holding your memory. Retrace the past and look for love. You're so vague. You're so vain. Real fresh. That's a great way to describe this piece. It is original in almost every way in how I look at it. Even in ANBERLIN's presence. Yes, the elements are there, that you sense them. There is a bit of a delay in that, because this piece takes on much more of a pop rock hybrid flair with a real electronic mood. I mean, again, ANBERLIN in modern day, post reemergence, feels like there's a real venture out into some other different types of territories on musical influence. It just feels so surprising to me. And there's a pleasant disruption that I experience with their works. But the reach of it in storytelling, even on visual, these videos, I love the retro feeling. And coming from an 18-year dance background, as I've said, I found the performance quite charming. Even if maybe it's told a bit of a slower and cut fashion, I still appreciate it. It adds a fun vibe to this. Again, it adds this nostalgic flair that paints this illusion that I'm sort of sitting back again where I was originally of ANBERLIN when I first discovered them, when I was first exposed to Ready Fuel. So this reminds me of that a lot. But it's different. It's fresh, and it almost makes you feel like it's not ANBERLIN. And yet it is. I love the disorientation that I experience. Again, like I said, like I have many times, bands will, of course, tap back into the fundamentals of what established them in the beginning and what maybe fans are accustomed to in sound. But there will be trials, right, of new methods, new tools, and new tinkerings of tracks and familiarity of an experimentation of what might work in the future for expansion. LACERATE, coming off of Silverline, expresses such an interesting growth. But I like this mainstay transformation of ANBERLIN. It's painting them into a more unique picture that does not fit my expectations. And it's quite pleasant in humoring. LACERATE has a great vision to it. In every respect, like I said, storytelling is incredibly strong, and I admire its originality and expression. The video, also a great coupling, really dates the mood of this back, even though it is a particularly modern piece in stylization and certain elements. The electronic emphasis, well, even that kind of has, again, like I said, an older flair. There's such a scope to these singles that I'm humoring with the EP releases that I just have not seen in ANBERLIN before. It's so cool, though, to study them. This is what I like with music. It's not just a pleasurable experience for me that I do hope to share in that enjoyment with you. And I do hope you would express, again, your thoughts. If you wish to disclose them down below. I hope there is some temptation with you if this is very much a first exposure point for you. I know for everybody, perhaps it won't be, right? I'd love to hear either perspective of the longtime fans or, again, those first exposures for you if you are in such a position. I would imagine that many of you are compelled to dig deeper. This is a piece that it breathes differently. But I admire its isolation, a part of its regard. You just sense it has this uniqueness that incorporates mainstay ANBERLIN traits that take on a more subtle appearance in favor of those fresher tools. And each is managed sufficiently to create an incredibly dynamic listen. I love seeing the evolution of this group. Again, I found them quite fascinating, especially in covering Silverline in its entirety. That helped. In engaging with each piece on its own, you're able to see those different points of growth and exploration. LACERATE is no different. I'm extremely curious. And again, like I said, this is much faster if I were getting back on the ANBERLIN train. The hype train for sure, because I love recognizing them. But I'm really curious now to see the evolution of Convinced and how close it is to Silverline in model, but yet how new it is and how different. Because there are points to this piece that explore different respects of where the band could go, so I'm generally fascinated to get a wider scope of vision for ANBERLIN post-hiatus. These pieces are incredibly curious works to take in, and I love it for that. I'm truly fascinated again by the scope of the work, and I love being able to dig deep with music, and LACERATE compels that for me, as a knowledgeable ANBERLIN fan. But if somebody's just entertaining a great track on its own, this is a beautiful piece to humor. I hope you feel the same, and I can't wait to explore Convinced in greater depth with you. For sure, we will. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.